If you feel tired, scattered, and just deeply ineffective right now, you are absolutely not alone.
Not at all.
I mean, look around. The modern experience seems to be defined by this exhausting paradox. We're constantly trying to add things.
More tools, more apps.
Exactly. More commitments, more productivity hacks, more books on the shelf. But the result is we just feel less effective. It feels like we're doing way too much. And somehow nothing of substance really sticks.
And that feeling of being stretched thin, it isn't just subjective. It's a direct consequence of measurable cognitive overload.
Okay.
Our brains are constantly running this subconscious cost-benefit analysis on everything we see and do. And the research on decision fatigue is really clear here. Every single item or task you hold on to, physical, digital, doesn't matter. It introduces what we call micro-decisions.
Micro-decisions.
Yeah. Should I answer this email now or later? Where do I store this file? Is this meeting actually useful?
Yeah.
You know.
It's the sheer volume of those tiny, almost instantaneous checks that does the damage.
That's it, exactly. These micro decisions accumulate, and they severely tax what we call your neural bandwidth.
Like a phone battery.
Perfect analogy. Think of your willpower and your focus as a finite battery. Every time you process a micro decision about, say, clutter or some unnecessary commitment, you drain a small percentage of that battery.
So by the time you get to the really important work,
the tank is already empty. You spend all your best energy on the trivial stuff.
And I've heard this cost goes beyond just, mental strain. It can actually affect our physical stress response.
It does. And this is crucial. Studies have established a direct link between cluttered environments, we're talking high-density household objects, and elevated cortisol levels.
The stress hormone.
The primary stress hormone. So clutter isn't just visually annoying or distracting. It physically primes your body for a threat response.
Wow.
When your brain is constantly processing that chaos, it sustains this low-level underlying stress. You are, in effect, fighting your own environment. And it is draining your intrinsic energy, that intense, focused intent that Fillmore called zeal.
So stopping that fight is the first step.
It's essential. Okay, so let's unpack this idea then. We are dedicating this conversation to the radical solution to this universal overload, elimination, or what Fillmore called renunciation, the power of letting go. And the key is, we are not discussing addition here. We are discussing the profound strategic power of subtraction.
And by making that strategic removal the core of your strategy, you can get some pretty immediate outcomes, right?
3 immediate and really reliable outcomes. First, you gain more energy. You stop those energy leaks we just talked about. That preserves your expensive willpower and makes your daily tasks sustainable.
So you're not relying on these big bursts of effort.
Exactly. Your days just become easier to manage. Second, you gain more clarity. Cognitive research suggests that mental clutter and perceived chaos can reduce your measurable focus capacity by a startling 20%.
20%, that's huge.
It is. So removing that strain doesn't just clear physical space. It demonstrably sharpens your mind.
And the third outcome, this is the one for any learner or achiever listening, is faster progress.
Right. When you identify and ruthlessly target those low-value tasks and commitments and just eliminate them, your focus naturally snaps onto the 20% of actions that actually support your highest goals.
Which means you accelerate, not by working harder, but by working smarter. Or I guess by stopping the work that doesn't even matter.
Precisely.
This is such an important topic. If this episode helps you, please hit like and subscribe for the next one. So this concept of elimination or renunciation, it can sound a bit intense, maybe even self-denying, especially coming from Fillmore's original writing.
It can, yeah. But when you actually read it, he frames it almost as a natural psychological law of the mind. It's essential for growth.
Not as a punishment, not at all. He framed it as healthy processing. His mental law is really straightforward and fundamental. You must let go of old thoughts, old grudges, old toxic beliefs, old limitations, before the new, higher ideas can find a place and really sustain themselves in your consciousness. And he saw this mirrored in the body.
Perfectly. In the eliminative functions of the physical body, the system has to cleanse itself of waste products before it can successfully process and gain nourishment from new food. It's a natural cycle.
So if we take that idea and we strip away any potential spiritual connotation, just, translate it into a modern actionable principle for peak performance, what does that look like? What's the scientific translation?
We're really talking about the philosophical principle of via negativa.
The negative way.
The negative way. And this is the core finding, supported by modern complexity theory, that progress is critically dependent on what is removed, not just on what is added.
Okay, explain that a bit more.
Well, think of it this way. When we try to add something positive, a new habit, a new investment, there's a ton of uncertainty. We don't really know if it will work.
Right, like when you add a new app, you have no idea if it'll save you time or just become another distraction.
Precisely. But when you eliminate a source of harm like debt or a toxic substance or a constant energy leak, the benefit is immediate. It's certain and it's reliable.
So the idea is that knowing what's wrong, what to avoid, is more robust than knowing what's definitively right.
It's often far more reliable, yes. It's a much safer bet.
That's so counterintuitive, though. The whole growth mindset culture is about always learning more or acquiring more skills. So why is subtraction so much more robust?
Because actions that add introduce complexity.
Mm.
And complexity almost always comes with unforeseen feedback loops, second-order effects.
Things you just can't predict.
Right. When you introduce a new element, say a complex piece of tech or a new committee at work, you can't fully predict the systemic ripples it's going to create.
But actions that remove.
Actions that remove, like eliminating a harmful commitment or cutting off a dysfunctional system, are inherently more robust because they immediately reduce your downside volatility.
They reduce the surface area for disaster.
That's a great way to put it.
That sounds a lot like the concept of anti-fragility, the idea that you get resilient not by trying to build something unbreakable, but by stripping away the things that make you fragile in the first place.
It's the perfect connection. The most effective strategy in an unpredictable world is to remove the sources of volatility, the things that can crush you.
Like in finance. Exactly. In financial planning, it's not just about maximizing gains. It's about ruthlessly eliminating fragility. High-interest debt, leveraged positions, unnecessary liabilities. Reducing fragility gives you immediate and reliable benefits. So improving your health by eliminating processed foods is a more robust strategy.
Then adding an expensive new supplement while you're still eating junk. The supplement may or may not work. The removal of harm always works.
And this isn't just about deleting junk or cleaning your house. It's about achieving a higher form of elegance. This reminds me of that famous story about Michelangelo.
Ah, yes. The idea that perfection is not achieved when there is nothing left to add, but when there's nothing left to take away.
Right.
This shows removal not as laziness or failure, but as the ultimate sophistication. Subtraction requires you to think more to get to less.
Thinking more to get to less. I like that.
You have to be an expert in your own life and your own priorities to know exactly what to cut, not just what to accumulate. Anyone can add. The master knows what must be removed.
That reframes the entire effort. But if removal is the most reliable path to robustness and clarity, why do we constantly default to adding more? Another committee, another tool, another commitment. Why is elimination so difficult for us?
That really is the enemy of elimination.
Yeah.
Our brains have what's well documented in cognitive psychology as a fundamental subtraction blind spot.
Blind spot.
Yeah. When we're presented with a problem, our brain defaults to the first available solution to conserve energy. And adding things just feels more accessible. It feels like progress.
Whereas subtraction feels like loss.
It can. And it also requires more metabolic and cognitive effort. It requires that deep, sophisticated thinking we just discussed. And then there are three major psychological traps that keep us adding when we should be cutting.
Okay, let's detail those traps because I think recognizing them is half the battle. What's the first obstacle?
Number one is the sunk cost fallacy and attachment. This is that deep discomfort we feel with inconsistency. Once we've invested significant time or money, and this is the most painful one emotional effort into something, a career path, a relationship, a project. Admitting it isn't working and cutting it feels like a personal failure. We hate that narrative inconsistency.
Oh, we've all been there. Trying to keep a project alive just because you've already put 10 years into it, even when you know it's failing.
And the denial required to sustain that bad decision is the real energy leak. We stay in these toxic loops just to protect that sense of self-consistency rather than facing the uncomfortable reality that we made a mistake and we need to change course.
So you have to internalize that deciding what not to do is actually more important.
It's often 10 times more important than deciding what to do.
And the second trap, guilt and identity leaks, that seems deeply tied to how we relate to other people.
It is. This gets into some toxic thought patterns, things like subjugation and self-sacrifice.
What do you mean by subjugation?
Subjugation is the ingrained belief that your own needs don't matter, that you have to constantly surrender your personal control to please other people, and it usually stems from a deep fear of conflict or abandonment.
Can you give us a concrete example of what that looks like?
Sure, it looks like the person who agrees to take on 3 extra roles at work, even though they're already at capacity, just because they can't stand the thought of someone thinking they're not a team player.
Or the person who always cancels their own plans. Gym, quiet time, personal projects, to accommodate every last-minute request from family.
That's it. That energy is constantly being drained by prioritizing a false identity, the perfect fixer, the pleasing one over your own sustainable reality. And that results in chronic mental fatigue.
We so often mistake that kind of self-sacrifice for high moral character when, as you're describing it, it's just a profound emotional leak that needs to be stopped.
Exactly. That identity leak consumes the very energy that Fillmore said should be directed toward constructive growth.
And the third trap, this one feels very 21st century.
The persistence of habits, and specifically the digital noise trap. This is where the science of habit formation just hits us so hard.
Okay. The crucial and frankly frightening finding here is this. First learned habits are never truly erased. They stay etched in your brain, ready to resurface the moment you are stressed or bored or cognitively overloaded. You can't just kill them.
You can't. You have to replace them with something better.
And digital noise, the endless scrolling, checking notifications, jumping to the news, these are especially tenacious habits. Why is that?
They are engineered to be. Problematic tech use is heavily reinforced by what psychologists call partial reinforcement schedules.
Like a slot machine.
Exactly like a slot machine.
Right.
If a notification, a new post, a like followed every single action, the habit would be easy to extinguish once the reward stopped.
But it's unpredictable.
Right, because the reward only follows the behavior some of the time, and the timing is random. It makes the habit highly resilient to extinction. The unpredictability makes you check more because you're always hoping this time will be the payoff.
So the uncertainty of getting that little dopamine hit is what keeps us hooked. And that loop becomes incredibly hard to break with just willpower alone.
Which is why we try to eliminate these things, fail, and just end up frustrated. We often fall into these really ineffective substitutes for real elimination.
So we need to be very clear on what strategic elimination is not.
We do. We have to define these crucial contrasts. Okay, let's start with the most common mistake. Equating systemic elimination with temporary deprivation.
Elimination versus deprivation. Deprivation is a short-term solution, and it's based entirely on expensive willpower. It's the unsustainable strength of suffering through a crash diet for 3 days and then crashing right back into your old patterns.
It's brute force.
It's pure brute force. Elimination, by contrast, is systemic redesign. It's changing your environment so the bad choice is invisible or impossible. Deprivation is expensive. Elimination increases efficiency and sustainability.
So clearing your pantry of all processed snacks, that's elimination.
Right. The friction to eat junk is now high. That yields reliable, robust benefits. But adding a costly detox tea while the junk is still in your house, that's a fragile additive strategy.
The metaphor I love here is that deprivation just burns out your own internal fuel, your willpower. But elimination redesigns the engine entirely, so you need less fuel to operate in the first place.
That's perfect. And that leads to the second contrast.
Which is?
Elimination versus conflict avoidance. This is critical in relationships. So many people confuse setting a healthy boundary, which is elimination, with simply staying quiet, which is avoidance.
And what's the danger there?
Avoidance, which is often driven by insecure attachment or people-pleasing, is silence used as a form of self-protection. When you stay quiet just to keep the peace, you reinforce the underlying insecurity that conflict threatens the connection.
And you also reinforce the toxic belief that your needs don't matter.
Exactly.
So how does elimination differ in that really high-stakes context?
Elimination, when you apply it to relationships, is an active, courageous, and honest decision. It's setting a clear boundary. And we need to see this as a radical act of self-responsibility.
So instead of waiting for the other person to read your mind or fix your feelings,
You are stating, this is what I need to be healthy and functional in this relationship. It validates your reality. Avoidance is passive silence and self-betrayal. Elimination is active, clear, courageous pruning.
that is a massive distinction.
Okay.
And the third contrast is the one that gives us hope when we're dealing with those digitally reinforced habits we can't seem to shake.
Elimination versus suppression. Total suppression relies on constant, exhausting effort to fight that old neural pathway, the one we know is never truly erased.
So when you're just suppressing, you're just waiting for stress to bring the old habit roaring back.
That's all you're doing. Elimination, on the other hand, focuses on habit replacement. You keep the existing cue, but you intentionally substitute a new routine that leads to a similar or better reward.
Give us a very small, immediate example of that substitution in practice.
Okay, take nail biting. It's often a compulsive behavior triggered by anxiety, which is the cue, that provides temporary sensory relief, which is the reward.
And suppression is just trying not to bite.
Right, which almost never works. Replacement, using a technique called competing response practice, is recognizing the cue, the anxiety, and immediately substituting a physically incompatible behavior, like clenching your fists or gripping a small stress ball for 3 minutes. You redirect the nervous energy.
And in the digital world, the cue might be the feeling of boredom. The old routine is opening Instagram. The new routine is immediately opening a book or a meditation app to get the same reward, a change in your mental state. So if we tie all these contrasts together with a metaphor, elimination is like an engineer pruning a system to remove bottlenecks. It increases long-term flow and efficiency, making it robust.
Whereas deprivation is like hitting the system with a temporary power surge. It's unsustainable strength that risks burning the whole thing out.
And the goal is sustainable endurance, achieved through subtraction.
That's the whole game.
Okay, let's move this theory into 3 domains, where we can immediately apply this principle of subtraction and see those gains in energy and clarity. Let's start with work. How do we eliminate low-value tasks and that massive drain of context switching?
We have to rely on proven frameworks for pruning. The first is, of course, the Pareto principle, the 80-20 rule.
Right.
This is a mandate to identify the 20% of your inputs, your tasks, your projects, your meetings, that generate 80% of your measurable, meaningful results. And then you focus your zeal there.
I think most people intrinsically know what their high-value 20% is, but they let themselves get buried under the low-value 80% because it just feels safer or easier.
It does, and that's where the Eisenhower matrix provides the ruthless deletion tool we need.
Okay, breaking tasks down by urgency and importance. Exactly. And the critical quadrant for elimination is quadrant 4, not urgent plus not important. This is a pure, unadulterated time and energy sink. So what are the prime targets in that delete quadrant that we should be looking at right now?
Ready for immediate deletion are tasks like aimless social media scrolling during working hours, replying to emails that are not addressed to you and require no action from you.
Or spending hours over-polishing work that doesn't really contribute to the final outcome.
Exactly. Deleting these quadrant 4 tasks is cited as one of the fastest ways to dramatically reduce workload stress and just free up bandwidth.
But the real killer here is the context switching, isn't it? Even if that low-value task only takes 10 minutes, the cognitive cost of switching back to high-value work is astronomical.
Absolutely. Studies show that continuous partial attention, just jumping between tasks, can lead to up to a 40% loss of productive time.
40%.
40%. All because of the necessary reloading time the brain requires to get back on track. Elimination here means designing your workday for deep work. It means eliminating the possibility of switching by blocking off 2 hours to do nothing but that 20% task with your phone in another room.
And we also have to eliminate the cultural beliefs about work that keep those Q4 tasks active in the first place.
Precisely. You must eliminate the deep-seated belief that staying late shows commitment. That belief just rewards inefficiency and busyness, which leads directly to burnout.
Right.
Instead, you eliminate that time leak and focus only on the value of your contribution. Similarly, eliminate the belief that I must attend every company event. That frees up vital recovery energy. Your commitment is to your highest purpose, not to exhausting yourself for optics. All right, moving to application B, relationships. This is often the hardest place to apply elimination. It involves emotions, history, and profound guilt. It requires the most courage, yes, but it also offers the most profound liberation. We already established that setting boundaries is an act of self-responsibility. It means you are responsible for defining and protecting your own needs, your physical, your emotional, and your cognitive space.
But what if the boundary causes friction or disappointment for the other person? This is where the guilt kicks in, fueled by that subjugation trap we talked about. And you must hold fast to the truth. You are defining what you need to remain healthy and present in the relationship. You are not criticizing their worth or their needs. And one of the most painful things to eliminate here is what you call the savior complex.
Yes, you have to eliminate the core belief that you can love someone into being who they're not ready to be.
Hmm.
When your compassion causes you to consistently ignore your own boundaries, your intuition, or your core needs, it stops being genuine kindness and it becomes self-abandonment. I heard a quote once: "Every time you stay for their potential, you abandon your reality."
Yeah.
That hits hard. It's the painful truth. If you consistently show up as the fixer, the listener, the perpetual support, while your own tank is completely empty, you are depleting your zeal and your energy on an unsustainable pattern.
And strategic elimination also involves recognizing and just walking away from repetitive chaos.
Yes, eliminating the toxic loops. A common example in relationships is the demand-withdraw pattern. One person demands change or closeness, while the other withdraws for self-protection.
And it just goes around and around.
Endlessly. Strategic elimination means walking away from the repetitive toxicity of that dance, rather than continually chasing or trying to fix a pattern that requires two people to change. You stop the psychic energy leak that happens when you gaslight yourself or rationalize deeply dysfunctional behavior just to keep a partner comfortable or avoid a confrontation.
The energy you reclaim must be immense.
It's life-changing.
Yeah.
Okay, application C, habits and environment. This feels like the simplest place to start, but maybe the most potent because it affects our stress hormones directly. It offers a quick win, it does, and we have to treat our environment as cognitive ergonomics. Let's just reiterate that proven connection. Decluttering is not just cosmetic. High-density household objects are directly linked to elevated cortisol.
Right, our stress hormone.
And studies have shown that people who are intentional about their environment experience up to a 33% decrease in daily stress levels just from decluttering.
A third of your stress.
Yeah.
That is a massive return on investment for a few hours of organizing.
And the secondary psychological benefit is that feeling of control. Organizing your space reinforces a sense of intentionality, which behavioral science links to a substantial 42% increase in self-efficacy.
You feel more capable.
More capable and in control of your daily tasks. And that's the foundational dopamine hit we should be seeking, the quick visual win that reinforces positive behavior and that feeling of intentionality.
So what are the two simplest rules we can apply to physical and digital pruning to achieve that massive gain?
First, the 1-minute rule. If a task takes less than 1 minute, putting away a dish, returning a book to the shelf, filing a receipt, do it immediately.
No hesitation.
None. This is pure elimination of future clutter and future cognitive load. You prevent the rapid accumulation of small messes that later turn into these overwhelming tasks. It preserves your willpower for high-value decisions.
You're stopping the psychological toll of accumulation before it can even start.
And second, the 90-90 rule for physical items. If you haven't used an item in the last 90 days and you cannot foresee a specific necessary use for it in the next 90 days, consider eliminating it.
That cuts right through the "but I might need it someday" excuse.
It does. You are deleting visual noise and liberating the space. And for sentimental items, you can use photography. You keep the memory without the cognitive drag of the physical object itself.
That helps us overcome that attachment trap. Okay, so now we move from theory and application into immediate action. Let's guide everyone listening through the 3 cuts. This is a quick exercise you can commit to right now, something to perform over the next 48 hours to create immediate space and clarity.
The relief this exercise provides is often immediate and tangible, and it can fuel the momentum for deeper, more structural changes later on. Okay, cut 1. 1, draining commitment. Look at your calendar. Look at your mental to-do list. Is there a recurring responsibility, a standing meeting, a social obligation, a request you keep deferring that just drains your energy every time it appears? It could be a non-essential volunteer role or a weekly call that just yields no results.
Choose one item, and for the next 30 days, either say a firm no to the next occurrence or just pause it. Give yourself permission to reclaim that time. This hits the sunk cost and identity traps immediately. If you're struggling with this, ask yourself, if I were offered this commitment today, knowing what I know now, would I say yes? And if the answer is no,
It's time to cut.
1, attention leak. Identify what pulls your attention daily without providing genuine value. This isn't about cutting out all technology, but targeting a single point of failure.
Is it a specific social media app, an addictive news cycle, a notification setting you just tolerate?
Identify that one single source, and for the next 48 hours, block the app, delete it from your phone's home screen, or turn off all notifications entirely. Create that immediate, quiet mental space.
This is your chance to break that partial reinforcement schedule. You need a clean break to restore your focus capacity. Even just moving the app off the home screen and burying it in a folder provides enough friction to interrupt that habitual, anxious checking. Okay, cut 3. One physical clutter zone. Don't try to clear the whole house. That's overwhelming. Choose one small, high-impact area. It could be your physical wallet or handbag, your bedside table, or just the top corner of your primary desk.
Clear it completely. Put everything where it belongs or eliminate it using that 90-90 rule.
This third cut is all about seeking that quick visual win, that dopamine boost that stimulates broader mood improvements and reinforces the idea that you are intentionally in control of your space. It's the moment you reclaim your territory.
Now, the final step. After these 3 cuts, you've created space and time. You cannot let that void be filled by something else accidentally. You have to choose one positive action to fill the time or space you've created. This is the replacement habit.
Yes. You could adopt Benjamin Franklin's ritualistic approach to order. He ended his day by asking himself, what good have I done today? And then physically putting things in their places.
So cleaning the workspace, but also figuratively letting go of the day's stresses.
Exactly. By automating that small ritual of order, you preserve your expensive willpower for the following morning. You eliminated the clutter. Now you fill that space with intentional order. That's the key. Sustainable endurance, not just a temporary surge. But when you start cutting, you face predictable resistance, not just from other people, but from the parts of your own psyche that are attached to the old system. Let's run through 5 common psychological obstacles and provide some clear behavioral fixes. Okay, obstacle 1, guilt. This is the immediate feeling that you are letting someone down or that setting a boundary is inherently selfish or unkind.
And the fix.
The fix is cognitive reframing. You have to acknowledge, using therapeutic concepts, that you deserve breathable space. Prioritizing your identity and your needs is not selfish. It's a prerequisite for self-compassion. And that is the necessary foundation for genuine, sustainable kindness and presence for others.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
You really can't.
Fear of missing out, FOMO. The worry about the potential opportunity, the network connection, the information you might lose if you cut a commitment or an information source.
The fix is focusing on robustness. You have to recognize that what you are eliminating are concave risks. The downside impact of keeping that low-value, draining thing, like spending 3 hours a day scrolling, is a guaranteed major loss of time and energy. And that loss is much greater than the uncertain minor upside of whatever you might cut. You're choosing safety over an uncertain minor gain.
Relapse. The old habit resurfaces, usually under stress or high cognitive load.
The fix is competing response practice. Stop trying to rely on total suppression. You have to use the cue of the old habit, the anxiety, the boredom, the notification, to immediately trigger your new substitute behavior.
So you redirect the energy.
You redirect the energy down a new positive channel. You don't fight the old one head on.
Pushback. This happens when others react negatively to your new boundaries. The friend who complains you never answer their text immediately anymore.
The fix is maintaining clarity and self-responsibility. When you set a boundary, you are defining what you need to operate effectively. For example, I only check my personal texts twice a day. You are not criticizing their behavior or their texting frequency. Maintain self-ownership and avoid being drawn into a defensive argument about their feelings. And the final one, this feels like the hardest. Obstacle 5, identity attachment. This is when your sense of self-worth is tied to the leak. I am the fixer. I am the busy one. I am the one who manages the chaos.
So what's the fix for that?
The fix is acknowledging the painful truth. Self-deception consumes an enormous amount of valuable energy. Denial acts as a chronic disengagement strategy, preventing you from facing the real problem, facing the truth, the painful reality that the system is broken, or that the constant busyness is performative, liberates the energy that you previously spent on denial.
And that allows you to redirect it toward genuine, constructive activity and rest.
That's where the real power is.
This entire strategy, renunciation or elimination, it's such a powerful, radical tool for optimizing your life by subtracting the things that drain your zeal and your capacity. Let's quickly summarize the 7 essential takeaways for everyone listening.
Elimination or renunciation is a psychological law. It mandates letting go of old thoughts and toxic systems before new, enduring growth can actually occur.
Focus on via negativa. Improve your life reliably by subtraction and removing sources of harm, rather than trying to perfect it through uncertain addition.
Be aware that our brains suffer from a subtraction blind spot. It defaults us toward additive solutions, even when they just increase complexity and friction.
Clutter is not cosmetic. It is cognitive load. High-density objects directly increase stress hormones like cortisol and reduce your self-efficacy.
Use frameworks like the Eisenhower matrix to ruthlessly delete quadrant 4 tasks and the Pareto principle to prune the 80% of low-value work.
In relationships, set clear boundaries. Compassionate self-abandonment, where you consistently ignore your own needs, is not kindness. It is a massive identity leak.
Employ habit replacement, not suppression, because old, first-learned habits are never truly erased from your brain. They must be redirected with a new, competing response.
So what does this entire effort to eliminate? What does it actually gain you in the end?
Elimination is the essential safeguard of your energy and your focus, your zeal. You can't build a fire in a leaky bucket without systematically stopping the leaks, the toxic beliefs, the unnecessary commitments, the mental and physical clutter. That intense, focused intent is just inevitably dissipated. Stopping the leaks is the robust prerequisite for aggressive, sustainable growth.
It's not about shrinking, it's about preparing for expansion.
Exactly. The constant practice of removal ensures your system stays ordered and doesn't succumb to unnecessary complexity, which is the inevitable fate of all unattended systems.
And that order frees up the space for what comes next. In our next conversation, number 12, we will explore the power of life, generative life, and how to infuse a more enduring substance, vitality, and renewal into your mind and body.
It's the natural next step.
Thanks for being here. If you want the full series, check the playlist, and please like and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode.